Elon Musk has said many previously suspended Twitter accounts will be allowed back on the platform after a landslide of users responding to an informal poll by the new owner voted in favor of the move. The announcement came as Musk faces pushback that his criteria for content moderation is subject to his personal whim, with reinstatements decided for certain accounts and not for others. Still on Twitter, Twitter does not take down the racist tweets that target football players, include those that use the N-word, monkey emojis, and calls for deportation. 100 tweets reported to Twitter were included in analysis which was carried out by academics at the Center for Countering Digital Hate and seen by a number of publications. Of those, about 25 fired monkey or banana emojis at players, 13 asked for their deportation, and 25 assaulted players, ordered them to go back to nations in which they're from. So a whole lot to discuss, and joining us is Oluwatomi, who is an analyst with Financial Derivatives Company Limited. Oluwatomi, you're very welcome. Thanks so much for joining us. So HP, Meta, Twitter, these layoffs that are being announced, a symptom of something larger?
Well, it's not just, generally, it's actually not just the tech companies that are actually laying off then also other companies, in different sectors are actually also laying off workers and all of that. So, but it's just that the tech companies are the biggest hit, right? And so what we've seen generally is the fact that technology is actually very, very important in terms of production. It makes production efficient. And so we've seen, consistent growth with these companies, with these big companies from like 10 years, and, they've grown consistently, over and over and over again. And the Primax was during the COVID period, the pandemic, where, a lot of people were staying in their house, and, there was this high demand for services, for e-commerce, for movies, all of that. So that actually brought that increase in the profits and all of that. So, but what we've seen lately is the fact, and don't forget that there was a fiscal stimulus. There was the monetary easing, so there was a lot of money in the economy as at that time. So there was that demand, high demand, and increased spending. So, but what we recently we know what's been happening about inflation, about the fact that people high interest rates. So people are actually cutting on their expenses, and that's actually affecting them. There's been this thinking that everything is still going to look like it's going to be the same, but a lot of people were not really expecting that there could be this recession, cut in spending and all of that. So that has actually affected them. So, but it's not that they're going down really. Yeah. It's just that they're trying to cut expenses, excess, the over hiring and all of that, just to be able to And what we've seen now recently is the fact that demand is now so supply is now more than demand. Yeah. So there has to be that balance. Yeah. So that's what we've been saying. Actually. So
are there any signs that this, I guess, improves in the mid to long term, perhaps?
Yes, we should see that improvement, especially when the whole inflation starts to taper and people start to get back on spending and all of that, and probably the next year we expect that there will be less tapering of hike of interest rate that would actually ease help boost spending to some extent. And considering the fact that there's still a lot in the technological space, we know how efficient technology brings in terms of production and all of that. So there will be improvements. So it's just the fact that there has to be sustainable growth, not a growth whereby it just goes and then comes back, but it has to be sustainable. So I believe that's what we're going to see.
Quidax, they said that what's going on with them is what you're to mention now, the macroeconomic issues, and nothing to do with FTX. I guess you believe them? I mean, is it rational that it would be more, because they're a crypto exchange, so I guess, and we've already had other companies in Nigeria mention that they were impacted. So what do you think?
I mean, they mentioned that in August, they laid off, that was before the FTX issue.
Right.
They laid off they cut, some income by over 50%, and some by 30%. So they've been battling with that, and generally, the way the crypto the crypto space is now, there've been, series of bad news, series of, inconsistencies and all of that. So I think it's starting from there. So it's not really it's not starting from this FTX issue. So it's something that they have to just, adapt to right now. And I think that's what we're seeing actually.
Okay. What do you make of Elon Musk's amnesty for suspended accounts? So how do you think?
Well, I think it's a good move actually, because it will, probably make people feel that yes, they are being, especially considering the fact that they are going to review some things that were done in and suspending people's account and all of that. So it makes people feel, although there's this comment that is going to actually raise, a lot of people are actually going to feel that okay, it's now they can actually say what they like.
Right,
It's giving that space, but I think it's a normal thing to do actually. I think it's just a normal thing to do, irrespective of the fact that I don't think it should actually create that space or that opportunity for people to do whatever they like. But I feel it's what ought to be done. And who knows when the number actually comes out, it might not be what we think.
Okay, so you see, now we counter that with this research from the Center for the Center for Countering Digital Hate, the CCDH, and their report on there's a World Cup going on. They've seen an increase in racist language. So does that not, if you counterbalance that with Musk saying he's going to give amnesty, and you've already mentioned it, and they're saying that Twitter is failing on its content moderation, is that not a worry? What do you make of their
it is actually a worry, but something that I think we should, about half of the employees in Twitter were actually laid off, and most of them were actually in charge of checking all of those contents. We don't know, probably that's maybe because there's a reduction in that workforce. That's why we are seeing that. And also, I think I was reading an article somewhere, and somebody was saying that that Twitter is a platform where you just pour out, your anger and all of that. Then Instagram is the part that shows the perfect side of you. Then the TikTok is like the community space and all of that. So it's just all about what a social media platform is trying to achieve or paint about people and all of that. But irrespective of that, I talking about the old Naira notes that was changed.
Right.
These people WhatsApp status was, it was not enough to actually hear your view. You had to just go to Twitter and just express yourself. So it's interesting, but irrespective of that, it should not be a place where people should use a word that would actually offend people and all of that. So the standard still has to be kept, and the sanity still has to be kept, even though it's a place for you to hear your view, to say what you want to say, but it should be said in a manner that the other party would not be totally offended and all of that. So that should actually be, considered.
Oluwatomi Mayowa, analyst with Financial Derivatives Company Limited. Thanks for joining us. Fascinating times in the online world. Appreciate your time.